Alrighty, folks, hello and welcome. My name is Mr. Matthew Larson, talking about some literary devices. Now, this is going to be for you to look and understand where these might be in different text that we are reading in class. Now, the first one I want to talk about is irony. Now, the definition of irony you can see right there on the screen, expressing one's meaning using languages that normally signifies the opposite. It's frequently used in literature for something that's humorous, so to try to make individuals laugh, or for emphatic request. An example of something that's ironic would be a fire truck on fire. That would just be kind of ironic, not something you'd really expect to see. That would be an example of irony. So be able to see where you see this in our different readings. Foreshadowing is something that's warning of something that's coming in the future. So for example, you might see a bee outside buzzing or hear about a bee outside. And someone talking about their allergy to a bee, and then that's going to kind of foreshadow that later on in this story, that individual is going to be stung by a bee and have an allergic reaction. We also have symbolism, which is where something is used to represent an idea or a quality. I kind of like to think of symbolism like a flag. So you might have like the flag of the United Kingdom, which symbolizes the United Kingdom. So it symbolizes Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, all unified together into one. Symbolism in stories can be something like a wand symbolizing like the wizard. It could be a crown symbolizing power. It could be the raven from Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and all the different things that could symbolize. So symbolism is one individual thing represents something else. Imagery, I want you to think of something that's really descriptive and figurative. When you read something and it puts an image in your mind and your image is virtually the same as another person who's looking at that, that's going to be an example of imagery. Mood is how the story or the text makes you feel. What emotions are coming up as you're reading this individual thing? That's going to be an example of mood. So maybe the mood of a story is depressing. Maybe the mood is grim. Maybe the mood is energetic. It's thinking about optimism and hope. So thinking about the mood, how does the text come out? The tone is the attitude conveyed by the text, the use of words that are using killed versus slaughtered, right? One of those has a much more intense emphasis on the method of death compared to the other. That can really influence the text. You could look at a word and determine why did the author choose to use this word versus another word that means the exact same thing. How does that influence how you're feeling when you read the tone or read the text? Diction is simply the choice of words and the phrases that are used when speaking. So how many syllables are used in a text? Maybe the author is going to choose to write in an accent. So instead of saying something like saying, it's going to say sayin', and that's going to be spelled a certain way. How does that influence the way you're taking in the text? That could be something you could look at. A citation is a reference or a quote from a book. It's particularly done in scholarly works. It's really important in scholarly works. But you might have a text where they're referencing another story they read, something famous throughout literature, anything like that where it's referencing something else. Also, we need to understand characterization, which is simply the descriptive nature of something in a text. So it can be either direct characterization or indirect. So how is an individual person in that story going to be represented? We have figurative language, which is language that's intended to create an image of something else in your brain. So it could be an example of like the light bulb switched on when he figured out how to do the math problem. That would be an example of figurative language. We have static characters, which is a character who has little to no change over the course of a story. And then we have a dynamic character, which is a character who has a lot of change. They learn a lesson as they progress through the story. There you go. Comments, questions, let me know. Otherwise, see you later. Good luck.